Hey, Matt here. Today I wanted to make a video about this recent Poker Fuse article and why we shouldn't be incentivizing cash gameplay on GG or WSOP.CA. And I promise that this isn't clickbait. So in this article, it shows that the most recent poker traffic update is that WSOP.CA is in the lead. This is quite disappointing to see. I know it's only the first couple weeks and they were giving a lot of money away, but I fear that this might be the trend going forward. So why do I think GG or WSOP.CA being the leader is a bad thing? They do put a lot of money back into the community, which doesn't go unnoticed. And to be honest, I really don't mind playing on their software. I actually quite enjoy it. Well, reason number one is the rake. Here are the rake tables for each of the three sites. The first thing that you should notice is the rake cap is a lot higher on WSOP than the other two sites. And something that you might not know, but is actually true. GG or WSOP actually rakes hands pre-flop. So it's a lot easier to hit that rake cap. But what do these numbers actually mean in terms of big blinds per 100? So on Party Poker, or BetMGM, the rake in terms of big blinds per 100 is 2.13 at 1K and 6.16 at 200. On PokerStars, the rake at 1K is 2.76. The rake at 500 is 4.18. There's no 500 on Party, but there is on WSOP.CA, so keep that number in mind. And then at 200, we'll say it's about 6.6. And last but not least, at WSOP.CA, I'm paying 8.1 at 1K, 9.44 at 500, and 9.19 at 200. Now you might say this is a small sample to actually see what the real rake in terms of big blind per 100 is, but in my experience, this number does seem to converge reasonably fast, and I don't think it's going to be vastly different than these numbers here. The number that truly matters, though, isn't the big blinds per 100 that you're paying. It's your effective rake, which is the rake in big blinds per 100 that you're paying post rake back or cash back. Before I go into this chart, let's actually just take a look at each site's rewards program. PokerStars is fairly straightforward. You get a percentage here based on how much you play. So at minimum, you're earning 15% flat. And then at the highest tier, you're earning 25% flat. Party Poker is a little bit different. You get a certain amount of points per dollar raked based on the game that you play. And then those points turn into cashback or rakeback. I believe they call it cashback. And this is going to be roughly 15% flat, assuming you're at the highest tier. GG offers three ways of cashback. One is the fish buffet rewards. The second is the daily leaderboards. And the third is the bat beat jackpot. At least these are the main three ways that I'm aware of at the time of recording this video. GG, for the first year being in Ontario, they made everybody the octopus rank, which they claim is 50% average rakeback. And you can see that they have different levels here, and you could, in theory, earn up to 70% if you reach the shark level. Although they advertise up to 70% cashback, that doesn't mean 70% rakeback. It actually means 70% of the net rake. And this is actually a variable number that only WSOP or GG sees. And a lot of people call this PVI. Although they advertise 70% cashback, it's not actually 70% rakeback. It's actually 70% of the net rake. And the net rake is a number that only they know, and it's based on, as it says down here, behavior at tables, net depositor status, and your overall history at that game type. Now, they claim in this email that the financial impact of this is negligible, which I don't actually agree with at all. the definition of negligible is so small or unimportant that it's not worth considering. But I'll show you later that I don't believe that's actually the case. Since this can be a little bit confusing, let's do an example. Let's say you rake $1,000 and you saw on their site, oh, I should get 7% cash back. So you'd think you'd get 700. The problem is you don't get 700. They might say, oh, well, your net rake is actually 600 and we'll give you 70% of that 600. So now you're actually going to get 420 back, and that's 42% versus the 70% that they advertise. Now, it's not actually false advertising because they advertise it as cashback, not rake back. And if you email them, they'll tell you that it's based on net rake, not rake. I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but that's going to be my reason number 2 is transparency. In my opinion, GG and WSOP.CA are not really transparent in a lot of things, and rake back or cashback or whatever you want to call it is one of those things for sure. Let's do a real example now, not a hypothetical example. So as you can see, I'm Octopus rank. In theory, I should be getting 50% cash back. So this week, since I haven't collected it yet, I should be getting $500 more. And if we look at my history, I've already earned $1,400. Now, if we look at the total rake that I've paid since the switch over, I didn't play on GG before this, I've raked $7,100. So I'm actually getting 27% back, even though they're telling me I should be getting 50%. They do have leaderboards though. Now leaderboards, if you hit the top, let's say 5, it actually is a reasonable prize amount. But how much in terms of percentage is this actually? Because obviously this person's grinding a lot more than say I am. So even though they get back 800, how much did they actually rake? Well, let's look at a couple examples because I actually hit the leaderboards a couple times. On the 12th, I placed 12th and I got an extra $75 back in leaderboards. Now, how much did I play to get that extra $75 and how much is that actually worth in terms of percentage? So on the 12th, I played 900 hands and I raked $965 for an extra $75 back. So what is that? It's less than 10%. I also hit it on the 3rd and I got an extra $85 that day. This time it was a little bit better because I was playing mostly 200 that day. I think this was one of the first days that it actually came into Ontario, so I wanted to see what the rake was. So I paid $470 that day. So if we do the math, so 18%, that's actually a little bit more realistic in my opinion. But again, we're still getting less than the 50% that is advertised from the fish buffet. The bad beat jackpot, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure how many big blinds per 100 I'm giving up with this. It says that it's a 100% rake back promotion. Now it says here that they take 1 BB every single time the pot is bigger than 30 big blinds. So I don't know how much that actually adds in big blinds per 100, but they say that it pays out 100%. So in theory, this should be 100% rake back of whatever that they take. Now that we've gone over the different rewards programs of each site, let's get back to our effective rake chart. So you can see I put different values for rake back. This is roughly what I'm getting, 30%. Let's just assume the actual average player is getting 50% like they advertise. And we'll assume that a recreational player will be getting more than 50%. So let's say 70%. This is if they were to play 1K. This is if they're to play 500 or 200. And I even rounded down here and rounded down here just so we could be a little bit more realistic. Here I rounded up on PokerStars and I rounded up on Party. So for me, I get 25% on PokerStars. I get 15% back on Party. For me, if I'm to play 1K at GG, I'm essentially paying almost triple the rake, which is, in my opinion, insane. If I was to play 200, because it's about 9 BB on GG at 30%, am I 6.3 effective? On PokerStars, it's 5, and on Party, it's a little bit more than 5. So I'm paying an extra big blind per 100 in rake. Now, if you're recreational, let's say you play 1K, 2.4 effective. Let's assume that they don't play as much volume. So PokerStars is still slightly better for them, and Party is still going to be slightly better for them as well. And if they play 200, well, now you have this and this. So a recreational might actually benefit playing 200 on GG, assuming that they're actually getting the 70% back. Assuming that they actually play enough to see those rewards. They could be losing so much that they don't actually have a chance to get that money back, but that's besides the point. The reason why this is so concerning as a regular is the average recreational loses roughly 40 big blinds per 100. And if I'm playing with one recreational in a table full of 6 players, assuming that that win rate is spread equally amongst all of us, I'm actually losing in this game with one recreational. If I consider my rake back 30%, if that's actually what I get, then I'm winning in the game, barely. But without these rewards, I may not necessarily be winning. And there's also a chance that if I continue to win more, as the email states, or win at a higher clip, this rake back could actually be lower, in that I would not be able to beat the game if there wasn't rake back. And that's concerning, and that's not something that I personally think we should be okay with as a poker community. Now, if we do the same for PokerStars, as you can see here, 2.8, 2.8, no rake back with one recreational in the game. Instead of losing, I'm actually winning almost 5 big blinds per 100. That's insane. So I essentially go from a losing player to winning just because of the rake structure. At 200 NL, it's the same thing. You see 9 big blinds in rake with roughly 30% rake back. The effective is 6.3. 6.3 with one recreational, you're barely winning. This rake structure creates a huge problem because as a regular, if you want to win at the game, if you rely on this for your livelihood, it only makes sense to play when there's recreationals, whether that be one really big one to your right or potentially 2 at the table. But GG openly says that they do not allow bum hunting, and they are rumored to sometimes ban or suspend winning players. So essentially what they're saying is avoid or only target weaker players and avoid giving action to stronger players. Essentially what they're saying is we just want you to lose on our site because our rake's so high. So unless you have a substantial edge versus another regular, you're just going to lose. You know, let's just assume everyone's 0 EV versus each other and everyone's just paying the APB rake. Well, who wins? The site, and the site only. So we went over reason number 1, why I don't think we should play on WSOP.CA, and that's the rake. Number 2, and we kind of touched on it already a little bit, but that's our not really transparent. Another example of this, other than the rake, is the PokerCraft. It's kind of a neat tool. This is where you can download your hand so you can view it in a tracker. It also shows your results. The problem is that your results don't show rake, and it doesn't even tell you this on the screen. So anybody can log in, they can look at their results and be like, oh, look, I'm a winning player, but how come in my balance, my account keeps going down? Well, that's because PokerCraft does not take rake into consideration. And in my opinion, this is just another example of how they're not really being transparent with the customers. And to me, that just doesn't sit well with me at all. Reason number 3, if we don't speak up about this high rake, this lack of transparency with rewards and results, what's stopping other sites from eventually doing the same thing. In fact, we're already actually seeing this with party poker. I skipped over this when I was going over the party poker rakeback system, and the reason why I did that was I just wanted to show you what the minimum flat rakeback would be. But party poker has this thing called player boosts, and essentially what it is similar to PVI, in that depending on your player type, you could actually earn points faster than this table shows. In this article, it talks about how most of the people getting rewards are the grinders, and it's not the recreationals. So they have this boost system that will give new players and recreationals high rewards. And to be honest with you, I actually don't hate this. The reason why I'm more critical of the WSOP and GG rake system as opposed to the party poker rake system is that they have high rake, high rewards, or maybe medium rewards. We can argue, as we just saw, where party poker has low rake, reasonable rewards. And if you want to give recreationals more rake back than the grinder who's winning, I have no problem with that. But can you please give us a game that we can win at and we're all just not losing to the house? Back to reason number 3. If we don't speak up, will other sites follow suit? You can see that Party Poker and BetMGM is starting to, but what's stopping them from going even further and maybe even just racing the rake even higher? They're clearly third on the list here in Ontario, and I know in the global pools they're not really that big of a competitor anymore. And what's stopping them from saying, well, look, GG and WSOP, they seem to be getting more of the liquidity these days. I know it's not comparing apples to apples, since WSOP and GG are in other countries that PokerStars doesn't operate in, but they could be looking at the cash game ecosystem and say, well, everyone seems to still play on WSOP and GG despite being raked double or triple the amount. Why not double the rake? People don't seem to care. Why not? And I don't see anybody online speaking up about this. Maybe it's because they want a sponsorship. Maybe it's because they feel like if they speak up, they can potentially get banned or suspended from these sites. I don't really know. Maybe it's because they're just not aware of the actual rake amount, and most people seem to play MTTs these days, so who really cares about the cash ecosystem? But I personally don't want to stand for this, and I would love to create some awareness, and maybe it won't change things. Maybe it will. I don't know. But at least I have to try. So if you agree, what can we do, and what are our options? Well, I think number 1, sharing this video or making other videos expressing these concerns on social media or forums is the best, is number 1. If it doesn't lead to any changes, at least, or hopefully, it will make these operators aware that we're watching them and we're watching these rake structures so they don't get a little bit too crazy. Number 2 could be complain to your regulator. If you're in a ring fence pool like I am, I'm pretty sure, I thought anyways, that PVI wasn't actually allowed and you had to be transparent on rewards, but I don't actually think that's the case. It feels like it should be, but it isn't. And number 3, maybe we could start a petition. I'm sure that we could get hundreds of cash players to sign some sort of petition saying that we don't really stand for this rake structure and we won't play. I think it's unreasonable to have boycotts. We can't say, oh, hey, everybody, let's not play on GG, and then maybe they'll change things. That won't work. We've seen it time and time again in poker, because what happens is all the regs leave and then the recreational stay, and then the bad regs and other regs come back because it's just a pool full of recreationals. So boycotting doesn't really work. I think maybe a petition could be a better option. So if you would be interested in maybe starting something like that, feel free to reach out, because I would be more than happy to do so, or organize it, or fund anything like that. Just some closing thoughts. I got into poker when I was younger because I thought it was a way that I could actually make money. I thought it was a game that I could actually beat and have an edge, and I wasn't just guaranteed to lose to the house. And my fear is that if we continue to raise rake in cash games as edges are getting smaller and smaller, we are basically creating a game in which we just lose to the house. And I would hate to see that. And I would hate for cash game poker to go away and all we have is to play tournaments, because not everybody has the time and wants to play tournaments. I know there's spin and goes or, sit and goes, and that's an option if you don't have the time to play MTTs, but the volume and the prize pools are not nearly that of MTTs, so that's not necessarily always an option. But yeah, I would just hate for all the money I make come from rakeback, because that could be taken away at any time. We saw this in PokerStars when it was the Supernova Elite program. They took that away, and they took away the promises that they had guaranteed people for the next year. A lot of people who were making money, and that's how they lived, was based off that rakeback program. And for me, that should have been a sign to everybody to say, okay, hey, if you want to make money in poker, you should learn to have a win rate first, and then rakeback is going to be a bonus. If we continue to raise rake and we have systems like the GG and WSOP rake system, that might be impossible. And I don't want to see that. And I hope that you guys agree with that. And you want to spread awareness just as I do. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Also share it with a friend. I know a lot of people say making these videos, making these complaints, talking about it on Twitch and in Discord groups, nothing's going to happen. I refuse to believe that. I really do. I think that if we can start to create more awareness and more people start talking about it, we actually can make a change. And even if it doesn't lower the rake, as long as it just doesn't keep rising, I think that's going to be the main thing, and we can call that a win, at least for now. All right, until next time, good luck at the tables.